first woman who came down from the sky had to land somewhere, and everything was ocean. And we believe that there was one great turtle on this ocean, and that with the help of the water birds was brought down to lie lightly on the back of this great turtle island. The animals came together and helped to gather some soil from the bottom of the ocean and to bring it to the back of this turtle. And so this became the land that we have here now. And that over a period of time, the first mother on the earth was planted into the ground as her instruction at the time of her death. And a mound was made over her, and out of her body came the corn, the beans, and the squash, the three sisters. And that to remember the ocean also, we would dig a place in this mound, and you might put the fish or something like that, or the seaweed or whatever, and this was the fertilizer. So we had that connection between the earth and the land, and to remind us that this was Turtle Island. And the three sisters that should always be united would always be there as together on Turtle Island, the corn, the beans, and the squash. And what has happened is that this was the first gift that we gave to those people that came over the ocean. See, because the ocean here for us is Abenaki people, Abenaki meaning people of the dawn where the sun comes up. You had the people coming from over this ocean from the east, and so we gave them the gift that was special to us from the beginning times, this corn, beans, and squash. But it's interesting that we planted them together in one place and showed them to do this. But what they did was they divided them up, and they put the corn here and the beans here and the squash here, so that the three sisters were always lonely thereafter. And if you'll notice, they do the same thing with people. They put certain people here and certain people there and certain people elsewhere. And they do it with everything, their animals and their land, so that everybody's separated and we don't come together in unity.
Old ways have been lost, and now after 10 generations or so of the European people, of the English people being here, maybe they won't be as afraid of this land, this New Hampshire. Maybe we can again become in touch with it and learn some of the old ways that don't go back 300 or 400 years or 200 years, but go back thousands and thousands of years.
That can be used in the old Indian way, so I'm trying to keep a tradition and a heritage alive. And that's a lot of what the self-esteem and feeling proud of being Indian is all about here in New Hampshire, is having the young people learn these old traditions and see that they still have an application today. You may not have to do things exactly the way they were done years ago. Things can be done in a new way today.
Porcupine quill work is only done by American Indian people. And so it's an invention that belongs to this land. It belongs to New Hampshire and Maine and all of this area.
So how do you get porcupine quills?
Porcupines don't have very many natural enemies, and so they're very slow. Therefore, it's fairly easy to go out and meet them in the evening when they come out. And in the Indian way would always to be bringing a gift first. You bring some old apple peelings or some parts of leftovers, and you give them the gift. They're vegetarians, they eat bark, and you can put that out there. And then when they're eating or whatever, you can throw a blanket or your jacket or a hat on them. And they're very slow, so when they come out from under it, it'll be full of porcupine quills.
Here, Paul is teaching an Indian dance during a program at Odiorn Point State Park in Rye.
Singing and dance were part of daily life. You didn't have the tremendous amount of stress that you've got to use all your time to make money for somebody else.
Here in New Hampshire, it's especially difficult to be Indian, as it is in most parts of the Northeast, because you've got over 500 years of contact with Europe. And over this 500-year history, there's been a lot lost culturally. And talking in terms of earth skills and knowing that you've got certain plants that can be used for medicines and certain plants that can be used for making rope or making your house. This is something that no longer is in the front of people's minds. And that as long as people remember the old stories and the old ways, and that we at one time were able to maintain a harmony, a balance with this earth, with this land, not talking about it in terms of going to a lofty spot in the Himalayas, but that right here on this beach, right downtown Portsmouth, right everywhere in New Hampshire, there was a balance at one time, where species weren't being wiped out, or you were able to get everything you needed right from the land. This legacy of balance, of harmony, and sharing is one that's very important. Yee-haw! Yee-haw! Yee-haw!
Here today, we're trying to revive the use of the sweat lodge because even though the name sweat lodge means that you get real hot in there and you're perspiring, it has a more deeper significance in the purification. You are cleaning out, you're perspiring or sweating, but inside you can unload some of your problems too through prayer, through talking to each other. And so really it's something that belongs to everybody. And in the old days, every house or every lodge, or the name wigwam just means house. So everybody would have a sweat lodge beside their home. And this would be a way of bathing and purifying spiritually at the same time.
We can function in harmony. We just need to reframe our way of thinking about things.